I've had a few requests in the past to do some history and lore pieces for the Elder Scrolls series. For the most part, I didn't want to because channels other than mine, like ShoddyCast, have already covered most of the major events, plot points, and characters in the franchise. But then I remembered I'm a freaking weirdo, so I figured why not cover some of the lesser known things in the universe. I'm talking about the weird shit, not the Pac-Man Easter egg in Skyrim or anything like that. I'm talking about the necromantic slug people that fly airships of dead bodies across the ocean. That's right, we're talking about the Sload today, Tamriel's most hated race. The Sload are possibly the weirdest looking race in all of Nirn. They begin life as non-sentient grub-like animals before slowly changing and metamorphosizing into something that resembles the overweight offspring of Godzilla and a tapeworm. Sload are easily the most grotesque looking thing you can meet in most regions of Nirn. They smell awful and can barely even move under their own weight once they're fully grown. This hinders them so much that they have trouble moving around or even performing basic functions unless they're in the water directly. That being said, none of these hindrances stop the Sload from being considered a plague on Tamriel, particularly Hammerfell and the Somerset Isles. To combat their difficulty moving around as adults, Sload will utilize teleportation magic in order to move great distances, often showing up in places such as coastal islands so they may still be near the water. It so happens that these coastal islands also house ancient burial sites, often from Redguards, which the Sload will liberally use for necromantic purposes. Yeah, the Sload use freaking necromancy, and you still wonder why people don't like them? Necromancy is something the Sload have always excelled at. They'll raise the dead from various burial sites in order to conduct cruel experiments and even raid nearby coastal locations. Sload will often do this in order to get more dead to perform necromancy on, or simply to accumulate wealth that is desired in their culture. As a culture, the Sload are considered greedy. In fact, greed is one of the only recognizable human emotions that the species displays. That doesn't mean, though, that Sload are stupid. It's quite the opposite, in fact. Sload are known to be very intelligent and never act without thinking about possible consequences. If the consequence doesn't affect them or they deem it minor enough, they will disregard laws in their own or other societies for their own gain. So you can see why things like necromancy would be popular among the Sload. The Sload are generally considered evil, but not necessarily barbaric. They have been known in the past to trade with select nations and even practice diplomacy. When doing this, though, the Sload will attempt to emulate basic human emotions to the extreme. They'll feign humor and sadness in an attempt to manipulate the other party. Usually, Sload trading involves slaves, sometimes from Morrowind, of which they will kill and use for that dreaded necromancy. Apart from that, their society usually ends up in conflict with most other nations. There are theories that the Sload once inhabited the Somerset Isles due to coral structures that resemble the ones in their own land of Thras, which is further off the coast. And despite their reputation, the Sload aren't often seen and were even considered extinct until partway through the Third Era. Their overall goals are unknown and they don't seem to follow a common interest, despite the rumors of a monstrous three-eyed leader of the people. Yeah, that sounds disgusting, I know. It seems the Sload are too greedy and selfish in order to work reliably even with each other. Their greed extends to the point where they'll even render down their own young in order to make products such as Sload soap, which you can find in Morrowind. If one were to encounter a Sload in their travels, destruction of the being would be the preferred option. However, caution is advised, as they may be surrounded by their undead thralls. And furthermore, one should never entertain any offers from a Sload, as they're only doing so for their own gain. And before we end it off here, here's a little bit of trivia about the Sload. There's a ship in Skyrim called the Dainty Sload. It's located just outside of Solitude. You've probably found it before. The only Sload to appear in the Elder Scrolls video games was Nagasta, I'm assuming I pronounced that right, who appeared in the Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard. The settlement of Hackdirt in Oblivion worships beings known as the Deep Ones. Upon inspection of the Bible of the Deep Ones found there, it's nearly identical to the alphabet used by Nagasta, implying that the Deep Ones are in some way connected to the Sload. And as you may be able to tell, the original Sload design was based off Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars. That's absolutely disgusting. But hey, maybe we'll get Princess Leia in the Elder Scrolls universe. I'd be down with that. Do you have any other knowledge about the Sload? Let me know what it is in the comments. If you want to continue the discussion, of course, I have my Discord server where you can go and ask me any question you want about absolutely anything. I'm usually there at least once a day. If you enjoyed this video and you want to support me, there's a couple different ways to do that. If you're watching on VidMe, consider throwing a tip. Doesn't matter to me how much it is, $1 goes a long way. Same goes for Patreon, so if you're not on VidMe or you want to support me over there, I've recently set up a Patreon, and I'm looking to get something going over there, so throw $1 there, I'd really appreciate it. I am PattyJack, and I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful day.